drink with me. Hey!
Welcome to Have a Drink with Me. I'm your host, Dylan Polniak, and joining me today is a hilarious comic from the San Francisco area, Chad Opitz.
Hello, Dylan.
Thanks for
Thanks
joining
for
the
having
show.
me. Man, thank you for having me. When you hit me up about this, it sounded like a damn delight.
Yeah, I saw you immediately posted on social media that you were so excited to drink Greyhounds, your drink of choice.
Yes, sir.
And talk about Robocop.
Also my film of choice.
Absolutely.
You have a huge one. Oh my
Well,
God, look at that. You have a massive
cheers.
mug, dude. See, mine is nowhere near. You are prepped, man.
Yeah, my wife just said, you're going to get heartburn. I was like, oh, I know.
Yeah, that is
that's
do
a
lot
right.
of citric acid up in there, dude.
Oh, yeah. So with Greyhounds, did you go with vodka or gin?
I went with vodka. In fact, I don't even know if I've had one with gin before. And I bet it's good, but I've always just had the vodka ones.
I feel like I've always had vodka, so I wanted to go with gin this time.
You know, I didn't even know that was a thing until like recently. I was at a bar and someone was like gin or vodka, and I was like, what? Because like no one had asked me before.
Yeah, so you've just been doing vodka, and then someone finally told you, hey, there's
an
another way.
alternate method, which I should try. I did not want to try it today. If we're talking about, you know, the classics like Robocop, I wanted to keep it the way I knew it.
There you go. So would you say Greyhound's probably your go-to drink, or is it kind of like a occasional?
It is. I would
funsies?
say Greyhound and gin and tonic, because generally I stay away from beer. I lately have been drinking some sours, but not very frequently. But generally I do prefer cocktails, and yeah, Greyhound and gin and tonic are almost always what I go for.
Oh, it's interesting that you haven't done a gin Greyhound. If you like gin.
Well,
and tonic.
again, like I didn't even know until I seriously found out about their existence probably 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I will try them, but you know, I wasn't going to do it tonight. I should definitely give that a shot. I always just forget. Like, and only a few places have ever told me like or asked if I wanted it with gin. So.
Oh yeah, I had to look it up. I was like, I think it's vodka and grapefruit juice, or maybe it's gin, and it said you can pick either. So figured I'd go with gin. I always do vodka, so switch it up a little bit.
Well, because you're an adventurous man.
I am.
Especially when you're drinking it from this massive mug. I hope you should take a picture of yourself with that.
I will.
And post that along with this episode so people can cherish what you're drinking this from.
So this mug is actually a 1990 oak tree inaugural running of the California Cup. I found like 20 of these mugs all around SoCal at different Goodwills. So I've collected like each year just out of nowhere. So I figured, why not?
That is awesome.
I haven't drank out of this before, so.
Man, well, this is the proper time to do it.
Yeah, and I'm hoping I can finish the whole thing, but we'll see.
I have a feeling you will. Once we get rolling with this Robo Talk, you're going to be like, gluggity glug glugs.
Oh, exactly. I've got like too much stuff to talk about with Robocop. And we talked about this a little bit before we started recording, but you said that you did not have to watch Robocop again because it is burned into your memory.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's up there with the movies I've seen the most, for sure. I've probably seen it, God, rough guesstimate 30 to 35 times. So not like an insane amount, but
time today.
You watched it for the first time today?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like I had to hang up with you so that I could finish the movie.
Man.
I was like, I think there's like 5 minutes left, but it was just like, the guy was like, hey, what's your name? And he's like, Murphy.
Yeah.
And then that was it. So I was only like, I only had like 10 seconds left.
Yeah, then it's that Paul Verhoeven directed by credit. Dun, 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 dun. Man, well, I'm so sorry I interrupted. I feel bad.
No, this is
now.
great. So I think I told you to hop on. So
you did. I didn't know that you were in the middle of watching the feature.
Yeah, I like put it on as soon as work got done, and then I ended up having to work late. So I was like working and then watching, and then I was like, wait a second, did I just hear that correctly? Most of the time that the movie was going, so I had to keep stopping it and rewinding it. But I love that you've seen this so much because I need help with this movie.
Sure. And can I ask you a question? Which version did you watch? Do you know? Because there is a like uncut version, which has extra gore.
I just know that this was the $7.50 DVD 3-pack from Amazon.
Oh, well, then it probably is, because I have that the trilogy, the Robocop trilogy,
Yeah.
and the one that I have, the first film is the unrated director's cut.
Okay, this was super gory, so
Okay,
I don't know how they could make it.
This is how
Wild.
you'll know. The two deaths. There's the Murphy's death scene, and the scene in the boardroom where the guy gets shot up. Like, those are very long scenes.
Long as in Murphy got shot like 50 times, and it just kept going like,
yeah. And like, there's a scene where they blow his arm off, and you see it very clearly.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Whereas, they shoot his hand off.
Yes, and okay, so you definitely saw the director's cut, because in the R-rated version, it's like the camera shot is a little lower, so you don't see the hand actually blowing.
Oh, gotcha. Oh, good. I saw the right version then.
You did. You're seeing it properly.
Okay, good, because I would not want to see it any other way. I was like, I mean, the first line is like, "You give us 3 minutes, and we'll give you the world." It's like, that's my pickup line with my wife.
Damn,
it's
and
like, what a great way to start a movie. Yeah.
I love that it opens on like a newsreel, where like the laser has like struck near and like given a bunch of like heart attacks to like old U.S. presidents and stuff like that. Anyway, it's wild.
And the male news anchor's smiling and like laughing every time he's giving the news too. It's 113 dead from the laser shot.
Yes.
In San Bernardino, where there was like 2 presidents or something. Or 2 or 3 presidents? Why are they going to San Bernardino?
Yes,
Santa Barbara.
I've seen it was Santa Barbara, and I've seen that actor, the guy that plays the newscaster, in another movie in that exact same type of role where he was like the newscaster and stuff. And I was like, well, man, was he like actually a newscaster that they like? Did they cast like real newscasters?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but it was basically the exact same type of role. So I was like, well, man, maybe he's actually a newscaster that just did occasional acting work. I'm not sure.
Yeah, could be. But yeah, I mean, he seemed like a newscaster, so
he definitely had that look and sound. Yeah,
you were talking about when Kinney gets destroyed in the room.
Yeah,
the ED 209 is just like busts in. He's like, "Drop your weapon," and then drops his weapon, and then he's like, "Resist in 10 seconds," like 5 seconds, and then they obliterates him.
Yes,
and I was just expecting one person from the boardroom just to be like, "He's perfect." We've created the perfect cop.
Well, they kind of no one's like happy about it, but like the way that Dick Jones handles it is like, he's not really that upset. He's like, it's just a minor glitch, and it's the old man that's like, you call this a glitch, and he's upset. And so that's when Bob Morton swoops in and is like, hey, man, I've got this other idea that I want to pitch to you. And so he takes that as an opportunity to, I'm going to give an intro to my Robocop plan. But I just love that. It's such a great scene because it's very tragic, but also really funny at the same time. And I think this movie, the tone of the film is just somehow it works in both ways, where like, you're not like, oh, this is hilarious, but like there's definitely something very funny about the idea of that happening in like in a boardroom meeting type setting, something so insane happening. But it also is like, very messed up at the same time. But like, there's for sure something very comedic about it, and it works in both ways.
Yeah, because like any one of those guys would have went home and their wife would have been like, honey, how was your day? And it'd be like, Kenny's dead.
Kenny got blown apart by a huge robot.
Yep. And then they just scream at their kids and ask for dinner.
And then they go play that game Nukem, or like, they get the family together and play that board game Nukem, where they just blow things up.
Yeah, and I don't understand that either. It's just like out of nowhere they have like a 5-second ad for Nukem.
Yeah,
it's like essentially battleships, and then it's like Nukem, and then it just goes to another scene. They're not pitching that idea or anything.
No, it's just to get you like I love that stuff about it though. Like it's very, it's getting you in that world and like how everything is just basically like an ad. Everything is, the whole the TV show where like it looks just dumb as hell, but the guy after everything that happens just goes, "I'd buy that for $1." And like everyone
Yeah.
think that's so funny regardless of the context to it. So
Yeah.
in that world, humor has just been boiled down to like a catchphrase, which is pretty common
Hmm.
now. It's like there's a lot of things that are like that. But it just kind of gets you wrapped up in the universe of that. Like it's been like kind of corporate stuff has taken over, and they're trying to sell you these absurd like war-driven games. But it's like it's fun for the family. Nuke 'em.
And TJ Laser as well.
TJ Laser, yes, and RoboCop's kid loves TJ Laser, and he's got to
Hmm.
copy that gun move, and that all comes around. I love how that plays into like
Yeah.
how that shows that he's still partly human is when you see him do that move,
Hmm.
like 'cause he remembers that.
Yeah. Yeah. Dad, can you do that?
Yeah, he's like I've been trying that, and it'll really impress the kid.
Yeah. This murder will totally impress my son.
Oh yeah, yeah, and they show a clip from the show, and it's super violent, and the kid's just like, yeah.
Hmm. I loved the part where Murphy's waking up as RoboCop, and they're like tightening his stuff, and like
Yeah.
his face and the 3Ds happening. I was like, this looks like a shitty Universal Studios ride. Like we're all sitting in our
Yeah.
chairs, strapped in. This is what's on the big screen, and then we're gonna start like riding through Detroit on a vehicle
Yeah.
that never existed in the movie, and we're
Mhm.
just gonna like watch like all of the like chaos and stuff.
I wonder if they did that because that's totally how it feels. That's true. Like if you go on one of those like you're in the ride things, like in the mid '90s. I think I went on one at the fair, like the Puyallup Fair up in Washington. There was a Terminator 2 ride, and you sit in these things. It's like you're on the back of Schwarzenegger's motorcycle, and it's just whoa, whoa. But that definitely has
Yeah.
that sort of like POV perspective, and I love that they do that in this movie. Where like when they introduce RoboCop, you are RoboCop, like you have
Mhm.
his. And they don't really do that a whole lot through the rest of the picture. Like it does happen, like the scene where he walks through the house and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's not overdone. And they could have done that,
Mhm.
like they could have used that in the action scenes like overly, and it would have been like corny. But they used it like
Yeah.
just the right amount. I felt where it was like a cool added just cinematography thing that they would bust in every now and then to show that like all right, he's got this sort of viewpoint and this is what he's seeing, but then they cut to you know other things, so it doesn't get like super corny and lame.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to do that as like a marketing tool to try to sell like a Universal Studios ride
Yeah.
or like a video game, like a first person shooter,
Uh-huh. I what
because
if
it was very very like Duke Nukem,
it,
like
yeah,
Quake.
what this was like, I mean, this came out in like '87, and were there any
Mhm.
like games like that until like the early '90s? Because I know that was a big thing
Oh,
like
I don't know.
92, 93 with like Doom and yeah, Duke Nukem. But before, I don't know if there'd been a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was like, I mean, it seems like it. Like watching it now, I mean, it's 2021. They
Hmm.
could totally make a RoboCop game if they wanted to.
Of course, I
But
even
it's
think
like,
now it would be even better like time to make it, honestly, because like
oh
over
yeah.
time the cult followers of it are just growing and growing. And if you watch like interviews with Peter Weller and Paul Verhoeven about the movie, it's like there's an amazing one with Peter Weller where he's like kind of he rewatches it for the first time in probably 15, 20 years, because he's like,
Hmm.
whatever. He's like a Roman history professor now. He doesn't even really act much. And him listening to him discuss what he gets out of the movie now, rewatching it is so fascinating because he's seeing it from a completely new perspective. And he's a brilliant orator, and how the information he's gathering from it is so interesting and like unique.
Hmm.
I love it. So yeah, I'll send you a link to that interview after this as well. It's phenomenal.
Oh, that'd be great. There's something I want to send you a link to, but I'm sure you've seen it because you've seen RoboCop 1,000 times. But did you see the 57 like filmmakers who redid all the scenes from RoboCop?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. And of course, the most famous one is like the dick shooting scene where it's like just boom over and over, and like of course that is the scene that everyone remembers the most because it's the most over the top and funny,
Yeah, well, I had seen the remake version of it, and I was like, oh, this is super funny. But I'd never seen the actual RoboCop film, so I didn't know that scene actually happened.
Yeah.
I thought it was like someone was like blowing it up, but yeah, that like happened. And I was like, what? Like, where did he learn to do that?
Okay, I love.
Like, how is that RoboCop's instinct to shoot off a dick?
Oh, I love that, dude. Because you're coming at it from a completely different take. I love that. Like we're having a discussion. You're just now seeing it, but you've seen a bunch of references to the movie, which you're seeing out of context. So you're like, okay, all right, I know that's a RoboCop thing, but then you're going into RoboCop, and then you're discovering all of the things that have referenced it. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, I feel really bad for myself for this same kind of thing. Like I never saw Alien.
Okay.
But I saw Spaceballs.
Oh, okay.
And Spaceballs parodies the chest burster.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, I saw that and I was like, oh, I knew this was going to happen. Oh, man.
Okay.
So,
that's so funny.
But I'm glad that was actually a scene and it didn't actually ruin anything. It just made it so much better.
I was at a show in San Francisco at a venue called Piano Fight, and there was a band playing, and I really liked the band. They were called The Go Ahead. And I went up to the lead singer after the show, and I was like, man, that was great. I really enjoyed it. And she was really cool and nice. We talked for a while, and she was like, oh, what do you do? I do stand-up comedy. And she's like, when? And I was like, I'm doing a show tonight. And so she came and watched a show. And I have a bit where I do a RoboCop opera, Robocopera. So it's like a 2-minute like song thing, where I take lines from the film and turn it into like an opera. And after the show, she was like, "Oh my god, I love that! I'll have to tell my dad about it." And I was like, "She was like, oh, he'll love it." And I was like, "Oh, cool! That's her dad must love RoboCop." And then I followed her on Instagram, and she posted up a picture like months later of her with her dad, and her dad is Ray Wise, who was in RoboCop. He's one of he's one of Clarence Boddicker's henchmen, and he is. He's the killer in Twin Peaks. He's Laura Palmer's dad. Like he's been in tons of stuff. And like when I saw that, I was just like, oh my God, what? So like I messaged her like, oh your dad is Ray Wise? It like blew my mind. And she was like, yeah, next time we're up in San Francisco, I'll bring him to see your show. And she did. She brought him to a show of mine, and he saw RoboCopera. And like then afterwards we chatted for a little bit, and he bought me a drink. It was amazing. It was so cool.
Wow.
He was very
nice. This is the first time I've seen him in a movie like when he's younger.
Yeah, it's mostly
like,
yeah. He mostly
you always see him in like mafia style movies, or he's like
he has a distinct look now where he's got the gray like slicked back hair, and he almost always is wearing a suit. But in the past, like he definitely did different types of roles, but he aged into like this particular look that is perfect as like a boss type gangster dude. So that's most of the stuff.
I think he might have been in like Burger King commercials as well. Like he was like an evil boss guy in like a Burger King commercial as well.
I don't know. I that'd be amazing though.
We'll find it.
You're probably not wrong. That sounds about right.
But that's like kind of what I remember him from. But yeah, like also with that scene, his death scene, I need to talk about this too. Who are we supposed to root for in this movie? That's like what I want to know is like, everyone's a bad guy. And I know that like, oh, RoboCop's the good guy, but also he shoots dicks. He like murders people.
He shoots the dick of a rapist guy. It's not like he's like...
the guy stopped.
Yeah, but that's like, I don't know. To me, he's very obvious. I think he's supposed to be, for sure, like, we're supposed to be rooting for RoboCop. Like,
I couldn't.
Really? Okay, I want to hear more about like why not?
Well, I mean, you look at kind of like all the cops and his partner, I can't think of her name, but the girl who's in love with him. Yeah. She kills Ray Wise with like a rocket launcher or like a sniper rifle and blows him up. I'm supposed to root for that? Like,
wait, what?
No one deserves to get blown up.
Why, dude? Come on! Sometimes you just gotta lose yourself in an action picture because like they're clearly like trying to kill them, you know. So, dude, if I get a hold of a rocket launcher and he's trying to kill me and RoboCop, I'm definitely blowing up someone with a rocket launcher.
But RoboCop is a robot, and he gets just a bunch of like metal dropped on him.
Yeah, but he's still like, that's part of the thing is like there's still humanity there, and like she knows it, like she can see it, and they have that discussion. I think it's fascinating. That's one of the reasons I love the movie is because it's him rediscovering like, holy shit, I'm not just a piece of equipment. There's something inside me that is like they're trying to use me as this tool, and I can't be just a corporate weapon or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty deep metaphor for an actual cop as well.
Yeah.
You know, because they are all, you know, we see them all as like weapons and stuff. But yeah, I was like, I don't know. I kind of like, was it Kurtwood? Whatever his name was.
He's clearly an evil piece of shit, but he's got an amazing personality, and Kurtwood's acting he's one of the best villains in any movie, in my opinion, in this movie. He's also,
I was thinking like, did he even have to audition for that 70s show? I mean, I would have given him that part immediately based off of his role in RoboCop.
He's phenomenal in this movie. And I'm a huge fan of villains who are not particularly physically intimidating, but they somehow still are, because he's not like a hulking presence whatsoever. He's a small, diminutive dude, but there's something about his entire attitude and just the way he talks, everything he does is sinister. And so I would for sure be physically scared of him for some reason.
Yeah.
I love that sort of stuff.
I'm 6'4", and I would be the same way.
Yeah. Everything he
I would
says,
do anything he asks me.
Yeah. There's that. I love that part in where he's talking to the crime lord in like where they're making the cocaine. He's just like, guns. The Tigers are playing tonight. I never miss a game. There's something about his delivery in that where I'm just like, this guy is like insane. Like there's something very off-putting and unsettling about all of his delivery.
Yeah, and that's what he's focusing on is like, not that he's being hunted by cops or that he's like killing people, but like sports.
Yes. Yeah. He's more concerned about, I got to get back to watch this Tigers game. I don't give a shit, dude. Like, and he would gladly end someone's life if it kept him from seeing that game. He doesn't give a fuck about people.
Yeah. I thought he was so good in it. And he's phenomenal. Because you don't see him in much either. Like Kurtwood Smith. I mean, you see him, I know him from that 70s show, and then I've seen him maybe in like 5 things besides that. But
same here.
I mean, he's got a pretty good range.
I saw him in some like early 80s movie, like during quarantine, I'd never seen. It was with Chris Christopherson. It was called like Flashpoint. He was the bad guy in that movie. And he's great in that too. I was just like, damn, why didn't he get more high profile stuff after these movies? Like, because he's clearly like just a great actor.
I wonder if it was just his choice. I mean, that 70s show, I mean, you probably don't have to work after that 70s show. True.
And like that is what he's most remembered for sure. And he's great in it. He's hilarious. So he's obviously got like a lot of range.
One like line that I loved, I'm not going to be able to quote it, but where Dick is talking to the guy who invented RoboCop. Yeah. The guy who ends up getting his knees shot and the
Bob
grenade
Morton,
blown up.
Yeah, Miguel Ferrer, Bob Morton. Yeah.
He like catches him in the bathroom and he's like, sometimes you call your boss Iron Butt.
Yeah.
Boner. Or asshole. I was like, I've never called my boss Boner.
Yeah.
I called him an asshole.
Yeah. And then he says like, but there's always respect. And you've crossed the line, buddy boy. And he like grabs his hair. It's a very weird, like, kind of, there's like
sexual.
There's like a homoerotic undertone to it. But it's just clearly like an intimidation move on his part, like a power thing. Yeah, it's fucking great. I love their dynamic of how he's like the higher up corporate dude, and the lower level guys trying to like usurp his position and shit. And it's just they're both such fucking like sleazeballs.
But that's the thing too, is like, am I supposed to like Was it Bob? The guy gets his knees shot?
I don't think you
And
are, but he's also not like a straight up villain. But he's very
yeah, but you're
obviously.
supposed to feel for him
You
in
are,
that
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So it's like villains turning on villains, good guys doing villainous stuff. I mean, shooting someone's dick off. You're
I've never watched that scene and been like, fucking Robocop, how could you? I don't know, because like he had a gun to that woman's head. Like he was like, it was a hostage situation, you know?
But look at the precision he had. He shot between the woman's legs through her
Yeah.
dress. He could have
Yes.
shot the guy in the shoulder or the neck or the head.
True. That's very true.
But
It's
he
like
went full
he
dick.
went for that dick. Honestly, I think if any, like that was just a crowd pleasing moment. Honestly, I think people wanted to see a dick blow up. Like Paul, I bet you anything. Paul, I wonder if that was in the script because I bet Verhoeven is like he needs to shoot the dick off. We've got to have a dick
Shoot the
explosion.
dick.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guarantee if you watch interviews with Verhoeven, he's extremely animated, and he's a clearly hilarious dude, and he's got all these takes on RoboCop where like he initially when he read the script he was like, oh, this is garbage, and then his wife picked it out of the trash and was like read it and gave it back to him and was like, you're gonna want to read this again because this has so many things that you're into. And apparently like Verhoeven is like obsessed with like the Christ story. And he even wrote like a huge book about Jesus. He's not personally religious, but he finds all of it fascinating and like thinks as a story, it's amazing. And he was like, while I was rereading this script, I saw all of these Christ parables of like the resurrection, you know, it's like, and then the end when he's like walking on water, you know, that part before he kills Clarence and stuff. And he was like, oh my God, this is just a Christ story for the like 20th century. And I thought that was such a funny way of looking at it. And that's what got him initially excited about the film.
My favorite part of the Bible is when Jesus shoots the dick.
Oh, yeah, man. Hell yeah. Wasn't it one of Pontius Pilate's men? He's just like, Christ was like, oh, no. Or was it when he was in like the tax den and like fucking flipped a table and then shot a dick off?
It was that time, yeah. He built a table so that he could flip it.
Yes.
And then, he had his hand up like Robocop and then was like, this is better.
Yeah, dude.
And then aimed down and blasted off.
Well, if he can turn water into wine, he can turn a finger into a gun. Come on. It seems like
he can turn a penis into a no penis.
He can turn a penis into an exploded penis. It's true.
Into two pieces of a penis,
Yeah.
That is a super memorable scene. That's going to be one of the biggest scenes that stick out for me. Anytime someone mentions RoboCop, I'm going to think dick blown off. But do you have an absolute favorite scene from this movie?
Oh man, that is such a good question. Absolute favorite scene. The one that like just immediately popped into my mind was the scene with Ed 209 where like he goes to arrest Dick Jones and Dick Jones is like, hey buddy, you have this fourth directive that he doesn't know about where he can't arrest a employee or like an executive of the company.
Yeah.
And so he starts, he can't function as well. And then he brings out Ed 209. And I love the stop motion animation by Phil Tippett on Ed 209. So it's like,
I think it's great.
Phenomenal stop motion. And so they have a battle. And then that's where the part where how RoboCop gets away is he just goes down the stairs and Ed 209 can't do that because he's just like, you see his like back you see kicking. His feet like, what do we do here? And then he just like falls down the stairs on his back and they have these like weird like piglet noises like wah, wah, wah. It's that part always like, especially when I was younger and I watched it, I would lose my mind. Like this is such an amazing combination of like hilarious, like putting something incredibly funny into like a serious like action movie. It worked very, very well for me. And like also just that animation is phenomenal by Phil Tippett. Yeah. So that scene it's always like sticks out to me.
There was I watched something like a making of RoboCop not too long ago, and they showed how they shot some of the scenes of Ed 209 with the room, the boardroom.
Yeah.
And then it was just like they had a small model right in front of the camera. So everyone was reacting to it being large because that's how the audience would have seen it. Can't remember where I saw it, but I remember seeing that scene in this movie and I was like, oh, I just saw that in something.
Well, if you
it might have been like something with Corridor Crew.
Okay. If you do like a search on stuff, they did have it didn't move, but they had a full size
Hmm.
Ed 209. And like
Oh yeah.
there's a couple shots of like Verhoeven like in front of it that are so funny where he's like striking this like pose in front of it. And so they had a full size one built just where it's not moving. But yeah,
Yeah.
whenever it's animated, I think they had a smaller version. Um,
Hmm.
but I love that there's just varying levels of the size for that creation. And also like I don't like RoboCop 2 nearly as much as the first one, but the stop motion in RoboCop 2 is unbelievable. And like the bad guy in that is called like RoboCop 2. They call it RoboCop 2. It's like
Oh,
Kane,
clever.
and they distinctly made the uh, the model so difficult to recreate because they didn't want anyone like trying to like steal it for like rip-off versions. Like so if you
Hmm.
look at the design of it, it's very, very complex and bizarre. And there's all kinds of little things on it which you like would have to be like hyper focused on in order to like duplicate. And so it's
Yeah.
it's such an interesting piece of art. So look for images of that creature from RoboCop 2. It's really, really cool.
Final thoughts with RoboCop. I want to share
Mhm.
my favorite scene. And
Sure.
yes, the
Yeah.
dick shooting is incredible,
Yeah.
but I think my favorite scene in this, like I had to like stop everything I was doing and just I was just like, how did this happen? So RoboCop goes into a club
Yeah. So it's
and
got Ray Wise. This is a scene with Ray Wise in it.
and Ray Wise pulls out his gun. RoboCop's like, no.
Yeah.
The gun goes flying in the air.
Uh-huh.
Some girl dancing at the club catches it and is just like, just keeps
Yeah,
dancing
yeah.
with the gun in her hand.
Yeah.
There's no like, oh my God, I got a gun, or like, oh my God, there's
Yeah.
a gun in here, or what is going on? RoboCop is here. It's just
Yeah.
like she catches
Just
it
boom.
and then she just keeps going.
It's so funny.
And I don't think they're, I mean, Dick scene's the best, but bar scene is my favorite too.
And also
Number two.
that scene has a incredibly quick cameo from Paul Verhoeven, the director. There's just like one. There's just one random shot of him looking directly into the camera, being like, "Ah!" I just thought that was very funny. So if you if you
That's
rewatch that moment, that shot where someone's just like, "Ah," it's like that's Paul Verhoeven. And I love that
that's
like
great.
she doesn't break like a beat; just catches it and it's just like,
Yeah,
so
it's
funny.
just like catches it, sees it, keeps going.
Yeah.
Just like this is meant to happen because you probably think like the director is probably like, okay, you're gonna catch the gun and then like acknowledge it, but like you know you're like on drugs and you don't know what's going on, and so her as an actress was like going to sell this.
Mm-hmm.
Caught it. Whoa.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like there's no stopping her in this moment.
Yeah.
So
Another very quickly
love
before another scene I always think about is the one at the gas station when I can't remember the
Oh,
henchman's
yeah.
name, but when the guy stops to get gasoline and he's a cheat for no reason, he's just going to hold up the gas station and he's like the guy behind the glass is reading a plane geometry book.
geometry,
And it's such a specific choice where I love that where like the guy doesn't even have any lines, but for some reason, because they add that specific element of him reading a plain geometry book, you somehow give a shit about him, and it tells you something about that character. And the guy's like, "Oh, you think you're smart, college boy? Can you outsmart a bullet?" And instantaneously, you are on his side, and you're like, "Fucking don't kill this dude. He's got a future. He's not. He's just working at this gas station to make ends meet." And then RoboCop shows up and like thwarts it. But I love that small little moment, and then that huge explosion and that crazy motorcycle stunt where the guy hits the car and like clearly a stuntman got very, very. He could have killed himself doing that stunt. It's an amazing stunt.
Oh yeah,
but that's an amazing couple minutes as well.
I said earlier, who am I supposed to root for in this movie? And you just told me the gas station attendant.
Yeah,
he's the lead. He's the lead in RoboCop. He's got a story arc of he's going to college, but now maybe not because he just lost his job. Like,
the gas station
he has to
blew
go
up.
apply somewhere else.
Yeah,
I know. So now he's got to go find a new job so that he can continue with college.
Yep.
That's what you get for being smart, I guess.
It's true, man. But at least he didn't. I mean, at least he got out alive. I was because like, yeah, you're watching that scene like, oh come on, don't kill this guy. Like
Yeah.
he's just reading a book, dude.
Shoot his dick at least.
Yeah.
If you have to. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to get into a little bit about drinking, and then we're going to get some links to Chad's social media so you guys can follow him everywhere he goes. If you've made it this far into the episode, it's safe to assume you're enjoying the show. You can support this podcast by picking up some merch over at shop.stricterpictures.com. Please like, comment, subscribe, and check out some of the other content we've created on this channel. Thanks. All right, we are back. Again, we're with Chad Opitz, super funny comedian. If you want to protect Rick Moranis, this is the guy that you need to hire.
True.
Originally, when I found you on Facebook, I was like, oh, cool. You know, I see some of your stand up, and I watched your stuff on Instagram, and then it was endless videos of you protecting, training to protect Rick Moranis after that jackass punched him in the streets.
Yeah, man.
But everyone needs to follow Chad Opitz here. Where can we find you on social media?
Very easy. Just my name, at Chad Opitz, ChadOpitz. And all like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I generally have the most fun probably on Instagram, just because I like the stories and all those functions are really fun. But also, I do some good tweets here and there. So follow me on there as well.
There you go. And we were talking during the break. You've got potentially something coming up that you're working on?
Yeah, I mean, this happened pre-COVID. Like I got hit up. This was this was January 2020. My roommate was like, hey, I saw a casting notice for SF casting for a young Francis Ford Coppola. And check out the picture. And he sent me a picture of this. The picture example did look very much like me. And I was like, oh my God, wow, okay. That's interesting. Maybe I'll do that. And then that night at a show, an audience member after the show approached me and said, oh my God, I saw this casting call for a young Francis Ford Coppola in the picture example. It looks a lot like you. And I was like, holy Lord, I better fucking look into this. And so I signed up for it the next day, not expecting anything. And then maybe a week goes by, and I was leaving a movie at the Alamo Drafthouse in San Francisco, and I'm like, hello. And they say, this is the casting director for Amazon's Goliath, and we want you to be a young Francis Ford Coppola in our show. And
wow.
And I was like, wait, what? Like, do I have to come in and audition? And the guy just goes, not if you look like that. And I was like, okay, what the hell? So a week goes by, and I'm like, they sent me one message. They're like, send us your measurements and whatnot. And, but I'm like, when is this really going to happen? And then like midnight, the day before the shoot is supposed to happen, the whole, in my brain, I'm like, oh, this has all been a ruse. This isn't actually going to happen.
You're being pumped. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this has been a trick. And then I get like an email like the night before, like way late, like almost midnight. And it's like meet at the pier in San Francisco at like 8:30. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. So it's happening. Wake up and do it. And like, it's like a featured like extra thing. I have no lines. I'm just in an outfit made up to look like young Francis Ford Coppola. But definitely the best part, because the scene we did was shot at this place in North Beach called Cafe Triste, where Francis Ford Coppola would write in like the late 60s and early 70s. And so they just wanted somebody in that place that looked like Francis Ford Coppola to be sitting on a typewriter and typing and like sipping a cappuccino. Yeah. And so I'd be in just a few shots like in the foreground or the background. But the best part easily was like when I walked into that cafe, all of the staff lost their minds. They're just like, Francis is here, Francis, and like all these this old man, like this old Italian man, like came out of the back, like, oh, Francis Coppola is here, he's here. And there's a huge like not a poster, but like a big picture on the wall of Francis Ford Coppola wearing the outfit that they picked out for me. So that
Oh wow.
moment was so cool, and it's not like a big part whatsoever. It's like an extra thing, but that experience of like walking in there and like having them all just relive something from the past was so cool, and I was just amazing.
Yeah,
So I don't even know
really
like when that's going to be coming out, or like, because everything got shut down because of COVID. That we filmed that in like February 2020, so it was right beforehand. But if it does come out, it'll be season 4 of Goliath on Amazon, the Billy Bob Thornton show. Yeah,
and I immediately looked up young Francis Ford Coppola when you said that, and the third image on Google is one of your tweets.
Oh, really?
You side by side with him.
Yes. Yeah. There was a great, like, the one picture they picked, because I don't think I look a lot like him, but the one picture they had picked for the casting call was dead on. Like, I was like, oh my God, that's definitely looks like me. So I think that's what got me the part.
That's awesome. Yeah. So everyone obviously needs to follow Chad on social media, follow everything that he's working on, because you're super funny.
Thank you, man.
And let's get to the end of this here episode, talking a little bit more about drinking.
Yeah.
So Greyhounds.
Yes. Underrated beverage.
Let's get into this.
Underrated beverage. I love how the acidity, as I'm sure you know by now after drinking that massive mug of yours, the acidity of the grapefruit juice, because a lot of people don't like grapefruit juice because it's very, very citrusy, like to a point that's like sour. It's very sour, but that cuts the booze in such a phenomenal way that I think it accentuates like the deliciousness of both things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always really liked it. The first time I had one, I really loved it, and I would drink those in college sometimes. And then after I moved to the Bay Area, I would get those at the Blue Lagoon where I started doing comedy. And when I moved up to San Francisco, the bartender at the Punchline, his name is John Stout. He's awesome. Great dude. He was like, dude, nobody ever orders Greyhounds. Like, you're one of the only people who ever orders it. So he always remembered that I liked Greyhounds, because he's like, this is a very specific drink that this one person likes. And he always remembered that, and was whenever I showed up, he would be like, Greyhound? All right, here you go, buddy. And during the pandemic, at the beginning of the pandemic, he was out of work and he didn't have a job because he was bartending at the Punchline in San Francisco, and it was closed. And he started doing a thing, like he posted up online that he was making sangrias at home, and he was going to deliver them around the city to whoever wanted them. And it would be like $20 for like a big pitcher of homemade sangria. Yeah. And so I messaged him and I was like, I would love a pitcher of sangria. And he dropped it off at my house, and he brought me a pitcher of Greyhound that he had made. And it was and I was like, I was like, how much for the Greyhound? And he was like, that's on the house, man. I know you love Greyhounds. And I was just like, dude, this is such a sweet thing. So if you go to the Punchline in San Francisco and John Stout is working, tip him tremendously, because he's a beautiful human being and makes a wonderful Greyhound.
Yeah, I love stories like that. Knowing people just are like, oh, I know you love this, and I want you to be happy. Yeah. I want you to have this because you love it.
Yeah, man. That really warmed my heart.
Yeah. Oh, mine too. Especially with all this goddamn Greyhound.
Your heart's already warm, baby. Woo, that acid reflux is coming up hard.
Oh, I'm about to go chug some Tums for sure.
Okay. I'm sorry for picking a drink that like fucks with your stomach.
It's totally fine. That's the way the show works. The guests tell me what I need to drink. I hate gin. I hate grapefruit juice, but hey, it's showbiz, baby.
Wait, but you made a huge amount then.
I like being drunk.
Yeah, you're a trooper then, dude. Because like you're like, you know what? I don't like either of these things, but I'm gonna mix it in a massive container.
Yeah, I figured it would make you feel comfortable. So here we are.
It did. This was a phenomenal discussion about two things that I dearly love. So, I mean, when you hit me up to like, do you want to drink and talk about Robocop? I was like, I don't know if there's anything I would rather do, honestly.
Yeah. So, I've been so excited about this. I was like, I haven't seen it. I don't drink it. Let's do this.
Yeah, man. It worked out very well.
Well, Chad, thank you so much for joining the show. Everyone, Follow him on social media. Follow the show, Have a Drink With Me, on social media at HADWM. Watch this show on our YouTube channel, watch.hadwm. And thanks for listening / watching. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you for having me, Dylan.
Absolutely.